welcome back to the channel. This one is quite a rant, okay? So I want to prepare you for that. And first of all, as always, a massive shout out to VRWave for sponsoring this video and this channel. They do produce the best lens inserts for your VR headsets, and whether you wear glasses or not, I would highly recommend you pick up a pair because it helps protect those really expensive lenses. And you can dial in your prescription, whether you have an astigmatism or you need a blue light filter or you're nearsighted or farsighted. They can cater for all of that, even anti-glare lens inserts, which are pretty cool. They also now are shipping Quest 3S lens inserts if you're looking at getting that headset, and all the links for VRWave, including a nice 5% discount, will be in the description below. Right, let's crack on with today's video. So there's a few things that I'm quite worried about with the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and even though admittedly I am very excited about it, I remain quite cautious, especially in a few areas which I'm going to talk about in this video today. So the first one is actually the flight model, because when MSFS 2020 first was released, let's be honest, we was all a bit underwhelmed by the flight model. Now I am glad to say that the fighter jets do feel a lot better than they used to, but in terms of general aviation, from what I've experienced with the Tech Alpha, and I know what you're going to say guys, that is not the final version, but in terms of the flight model, I can't imagine it's going to change that much. I was just a little underwhelmed by the way the aircraft behaved and interacted with the atmosphere, such as the wind and turbulence, not to mention side slipping as well. Although the ground physics is better when I compare it to X-Plane, there's just no comparison. It still felt a little bit clinical. Another good example is when doing aerobatics, such as hammerheads and stalls. I really hope they feel more fluid and natural, because you can tell that the system still uses a lookup table, and there's that clunkiness to the flight model that, well, you just don't get in X-Plane 12. It just has to be said, guys. And if it wasn't for third-party add-ons such as A2A simulations, it really would have been a bit of an uphill struggle for quite a long time. And as far as I can see, there isn't a massive amount of information in terms of what is a flight model really like. Is it a lot more fluid now? Does it feel like actually flying in an aircraft? So the next thing, and this is probably one of my most biggest worries of all, and that is data streaming and your internet connection. Now, call me a dinosaur, and to be fair, I am getting on a bit now these days, but I prefer my data to be on my hard drive, whether it's a scenery package, an aircraft, an add-on airport, whatever it is. I prefer it to be locally accessible. Now, it's great that MSFS 2024 to some degree gives you that option, and I'll sure be using it, and I recommend you do as well. However, it seems that the streaming, in terms of the level of detail and all of that world data, is only going to be processed in real time. For example, if you're flying straight ahead, then it'll load the data in a sort of arc so you can see what you're looking at. But what does that mean for track IR users, and more importantly, what does it mean for VR users when you're quickly moving your head from left and right? Is there going to be a discrepancy or lack of detail as you move around? I've already seen this in some, dare I say, gameplay videos of the trees looking very blocky when you first load in, and sometimes when you do look very quickly left and right, if your internet connection is not fast enough, is there going to be a bit of lag, you know, or a massive degradation in visual quality? This is my other sort of worry, because when MSFS 2020 came out, my internet connection was only around 25-30 megabytes per second, and overall it's worked pretty well. Now that I've changed to, I think it's around 450-500 megs per second, I can definitely tell that the photogrammetry cities look better. But the fact is, it worked fine before. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case in 2024. Especially when Asobo has stated that the recommended speed of your internet should be around 100 megs per second. That's quite high, and even in 2024 going into 2025, that's quite hard for a lot of families and locations around the world to access, especially as it's quite expensive. Now, I'm really relieved we still have the cash option in the sim, we're definitely going to need it. I think it's going to be more important this time than ever before, because so much of the data of the sim, whether it's AI traffic, whether it's possibly even your airports and aircraft, all of the scenery, the autogen, it's all going to be streamed from the cloud. And there is the next issue that I'm worried about. As you know, any online sim game, whatever you want to call it, well, you are at the mercy of the servers. And a lot of the time, I would say that your stutter problems and your performance issues is more related to the servers than anything else. I'm sure it's fair to say that all of us have experienced times when the flight sim is working really well and you think, oh my goodness me, like it's just so smooth and everything feels great. And then the next day you don't change anything, just everything exactly the same settings, and it runs absolutely terrible. That is because of the servers, and this is only going to be a bigger problem in MSFS 2024 than in 2020, in my opinion. Now, before I have another moan about another issue that I'm worried about, this video is about my concerns, okay? But overall, I am really looking forward to this sim, and I am so excited for it. It's definitely going to bring a lot of new improvements, without a doubt, and I will be literally posting my first impressions video the day it releases, because it's just going to be a fantastic time for the community. But I do have to highlight these problems, and I think it's a good idea to temper our expectations, put it that way. So the next thing I'm a little bit concerned about, and that is the fact that this sim is DirectX 12 only. Now, I am aware that Asobo have stated that this is a fully fledged version of DirectX 12 that's been worked from the ground up, so to speak. It's not in experimental mode anymore. It's not in beta, which has been like forever. However, DirectX 12 currently in MSFS 2020 does not run very well in VR. I mean, there is some aspects that are quite good, especially if you use DLSS, which is something that I was hoping would be improved, but again, we don't know anything about that, because imagine DLSS, you know, working really well with G1000 cockpits. That would be a big deal, but again, we don't know anything about that. I'm guessing nothing's changed. But in terms of TAA mode, you know, sharpness, which is so important when in VR, DirectX 12 just has not worked very well. And the performance isn't as good either in terms of the raw FPS. I've done lots of videos on this before and comparisons. That hasn't changed at all. So I am a little bit concerned about DirectX 12. I really hope that it is the all singing, all dancing, you know, version of DirectX 12 that's going to make things better, not worse. Now, the camera system is another area of contention for me. I cannot believe that there's still no flyby view. How hard is it really for Asobo to implement a flyby camera view? I just don't understand it. And the camera system looks to be exactly the same as before, or very similar anyway. But overall, I do still feel that Laminar Research X-Plane 11 and 12 is far more intuitive, it's far snappier, it's just a lot more easier. And anything that makes your life easier when you're flying and you're busy piloting your aircraft is a good thing in my opinion. And I just cannot believe there's still no flyby review in 2024. Please sort it out, Asobo. And for the last couple of things I want to mention, okay, and then I'll leave you alone, I promise, to enjoy the rest of your Sunday or whenever this goes live. But of course, I am also quite concerned for VR. I don't think it's going to be a massive jump in performance, especially when you consider that there is a lot more detail on offer here. Even though we're going to get better multi-threaded support, I think all of that extra performance is going to be swallowed up by these new features, especially at this sort of ground level that we have now, where you can see amazing textures. I hope that the graphics pipeline is clever enough, and they really have gone from the ground up like they said they have, to be able to make sure that all of these textures and memory management is a lot better than it used to be, that it won't make too much of a difference. And you know, folks, it's not so much about FPS and numbers, but consistency in frame timing that really brings VR to its knees. So really, I could carry on and talk about other things, but I think that's enough for now, especially as I've probably appeared incredibly negative on this particular video. But I'm just voicing my concerns, guys, and overall I cannot wait for this new sim, especially when it comes to the immense level of detail, the improvement of the visual fidelity, especially in VR, when you're able to park your aircraft up, do all the walk around checks, then be in avatar mode and go and check out the local airports. It's just going to be not just about flight simming, but an exploration of the world. And I tell you what, I think this is going to be the most killer VR application on the planet, especially as it really is modeling the whole planet. And I guess I just hope Asobo take VR more seriously and we do get dynamic foveated rendering, because it should be a day one feature in my opinion. Please do let me know in the comments, what are you concerned about? What are you excited about? Do you disagree with everything I've said? That's absolutely fine, but just keep it nice in the comments, and I'll see you all again soon for a new video. Enjoy the rest of your day, take care, and bye for now.